go with us to the Old Testament scripture, the prophet Isaiah chapter 48. I just want to read one verse for you. Isaiah chapter 48, verse number 10. I'm reading from the King James rendering. The following verse of scripture can be found, and it reads on this wise: Behold, I have refined thee, but not with silver. I have chosen thee in the furnace of affliction. I want to talk very briefly from this thought: when life runs hot. When life runs hot. Now, in our scripture text this morning, God is dealing with the children of Israel. During the time of our text, they had been delivered from Egypt into a promised land. When they got to the promised land, they were divided into 12 tribes, and initially they were unified under one God. Civil war broke out, and then there was a division among the 12 tribes, and 10 in the north and 2 in the south. Now, the 10 in the north became known as Israel, with the capital being Samaria. The 2 in the south became known as Judah, with the capital being Jerusalem. Israel seemed to have had a problem with always falling back or apostasy, and they struggled with idolatry and mostly disobedience. And during the course of the time, because of their disobedience, God kind of wiped them out and merged them in with the South. And so God now has a problem with his children being disobedient and always falling back to idol worshiping gods. Now, I want to say, without getting too deep and meddling in folk business, we are still idol worshiping people. We think idol worshiping is a golden calf or something like that. But anything, anybody, any organization that you put above God is your idol. Some of you don't even have to look no further than in the mirror. Because if you're more concerned about your beauty and how you look than you are about God, then you are your own idol. In fact, we've made idol a word of praise, and American Idol and teenage throb idol. You my idol. I idolize you. And so we've softened the word idol. But I want you to know that God is a jealous God. So much so that he does not want to share you with anybody. You are the apple of his eye. You are the darling of his life. You are his every thought. He is constantly trying to figure out how he can bring you closer to him. All he wants to do is to love on us and to bless us and to bring us into a consecrated relationship with him. And all he ever asked you to do was to keep his commandments and have no other God before him. Now, God says, I'm going to do something with my chosen. I'm going to test them. I'm going to try them. Now, I want you to know that there's a difference between God testing you and Satan tempting you. God never tempts you, but he does try you. He does test you. And he says, the way I'm going to do that, I'm not going to do it as fire is to silver. But there will be some heat in your life, not from a physical fire standpoint, but from spiritual affliction. Your furnace won't be with fire, but your furnace will be with affliction. Now, before I move on, I want to say this because I don't want you to think because you are afflicted that you are necessarily chosen. Just like it rains on the just and the unjust, well, hellish folk catch hell too. Oh, y'all are going to pray with me. Just because you're being afflicted doesn't mean that you're God's child. It just means that for the time being, you're catching hell till eventually hell will catch you. But there's a special class of people that God has chosen. But when God allows you to be afflicted, it is never to your detriment, but it is always for your growth and for the betterment of life. Now, I know that doesn't sound good because I tried to fix it up, because no one likes affliction. No one likes going through. No one likes to be in a situation where you feel like things are just getting too hot. But when life runs hot, what do we make of that? What is it all about? Now, God says, first of all, he's getting on them. He says, listen, let me remind you that it was me that brought you out of bondage. You had been enslaved and you had been crying and crying, and I sent Moses down there to deliver you and to give you a promise of a land that you didn't even know existed. You had never even laid eyes on it, but you left out of there strictly on faith, on the promise and on the premises that there's a land flowing with milk and honey that I have set before you, that I swore to your father Abraham. Now I'm going to give it to you. And oh, my brothers and sisters, if you've been following us in Bible study, or if you're a Bible reader yourself, you'll understand. They left there with silver, with gold, and God would lead them by a pillar of cloud during the day and a pillar of fire by night. But how many of you know that the original children of Israel who left Egypt were not the ones who finally settled in the land? Because of their rebelliousness and their stiff neck, they wandered around and around and around, wandered all around the blessing, but never really achieve anything. And sometimes I wonder, when I drive by cemeteries, I wonder how many people died never having achieved what God had in store for them, but spent their whole lives just wandering around, so close to where God wanted you to be. But because of disobedience and idolatry, you were close, but you never made it. And even the ones that made it in by the skin of their teeth. And I don't know about you, but it makes me wonder, how do we barely make it with a guide? How do you barely make it in with a God who knows all, who sees all? How do you just barely make it with God on your side? We have some tall explaining to do. We are really a piece of work. When you really sit about and think about how God could have handled us. And we love to haul about my season and what I deserve. I'm put me in this. We don't really want God to give us what we deserve. Oh, you better thank God for his grace. You better thank God for his mercy. You better thank God that he's long suffering, that he really does look beyond your faults. And so God says, because I love you and because my name is on the line, if I destroy you, then that means I have reneged on the promise that I made. And because my word is at stake concerning you, because I said you are the victor, because I have deemed you to be the head and not the tail, so that I won't be a lie. I'm going to spare you while you're living a lie. And so I'm bringing you because my name is attached to you. Even though he had a problem with them saying, we are God's kids, but you're acting like the world. And some of us have a lip service. We are good at confessing we know who God is, but we fail at actually practicing what we preach. Oh, God says, I got to put you in a furnace, but I can't put you in the furnace of fire, because if I put you in the furnace of fire, that's judgment. That's condemnation. And my goal is not to destroy you, but it is to deliver you. And the only way I can deliver you is I have to develop you. And the only way I know how to develop you is through affliction. Because the more God afflicts us, the more we grow. No one gets to the blessing. No one gets to the promise. No one gets a crown without affliction. Because with the crown comes a cross. I'm almost finished. And so, if you are chosen by God, you must go through the furnace of affliction. Now, let's talk about this affliction for a minute, and I'm almost finished. If you look at verse 8, he's saying, yea, you heard them not, you knew not. Yea, from that time to this time, your ear was not open. For I knew that thou would deal very treacherous, and was called a transgressor from the womb. So you see, I was born in sin. I was shaped in iniquity. So when God found me, he found me in a state of affliction. I was already afflicted. And so we have a lot of people who says, well, I come to church when I get myself together. If you could get yourself together apart from church, then why would you need church? When God found me, I was afflicted. Now that's good to know, because any precious metal that you could ever purchase or buy today didn't come that way. Before it wound up in the jewelry store and on your hand and in your ear and around your neck, it was lost somewhere in a mine. Before the gold reached you, it was laying somewhere in a riverbed. And someone had to search for that which was lost or hidden or concealed in some kind of muck and some kind of mire. It took some digging. It took some cost. It took some sacrifice to get the silver, the gold out of its current affliction. And so it is, God found me. We like to say when I found God, but God ain't the one that was lost. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. And if you can't find God, he's probably where you left him. We are like sheep. We go astray. And God has to put out a search for us, because oftentimes we are not in the place where God ordained us to be. And so just like that precious metal, God found us and took us out of the muck and took us out of the mire. However, when God saw us in our affliction, he fell in love with us, or the idea of having a relationship with us, not because of our current position, but God saw our potential. He didn't judge us on what we was, but rather he fell in love with the idea of what we could be, of what we could develop into, of what we could grow and become. So then when he finds us, that's the first process. Now he must refine what he has found. Oh, y'all ain't gonna pray with me. And the only way God can refine what he finds is it's got to go through the furnace of affliction. And so he says, for my name's sake will I defer mine anger, and for my praise will I refrain for thee, that I cut thee off not. So he's saying, for my name's sake, I'm not going to give you what you truly deserve. Because if I destroy you, then the world would say, what kind of God would destroy his own children? What kind of king would wipe out his own kingdom? If I'm a God that is to be served, how am I going to be served if I kill all my servants? So he's saying, for my name's sake, I'm going to spare you what you really deserve. But I'm going to refine you, and I'm going to do it in the furnace of affliction. Now, when he refines you, if you understood how gold and silver is refined, it goes through a furnace of high heat and high temperature. And the hotter it gets, all the impurities and those things that are mixed with the pure metal begin to separate. And what's not valuable will rise to the top, which is known as dross. And they skim all of that off the top, leaving what's valuable and what's pure. And oh, my brothers and sisters, sometimes when we go through affliction, it's God getting those impurities, those things that shouldn't be in us. He's causing a separation between kingdom-minded people and worldly-minded people. And the problem I see with church, and not just J.S. Hammond, but with all churches, we come in here and we're searching for a true doctrine, but we've already been indoctrinated with the world system. From the time we can speak, think, and walk, the world has been giving us tidbits of their doctrine. And so when we come in and we hear the truth being spoken, it messes with our psyche. It doesn't quite jive with what I've learned and how I've learned to live. But let's keep reading. Verse 11, he says, for mine own sake, even for my own sake, will I do it. For how should my name be polluted? And I will not give my glory unto another. God says, listen, how can you be called a Christian and you don't have any Christ-like characteristics? I won't allow you to call yourself by my name and you be polluted with something else. I got to get all of that out so that when people look at you, they see a reflection of me. My name, my image, my likeness is on the line. And so you are being conformed into the image, not of your mama, not of your daddy, but into God. And so I tell people all the time, stop talking about you going to heaven looking for mama and daddy. If I can't get an amen, y'all say out. When you get to heaven, everywhere you look is going to be an image of God. Don't get quiet on me. And so he says, listen, I don't want to share you. I don't want to share your thoughts. I don't want to share your pledge. I don't want to share your commitment. I don't want to share your energy with nothing that the world has offered you. And I don't know who I'm talking to, and I really don't care, but I'm going to say it. If what you are attached to is not found in Scripture, you need to denounce it and let it go. I don't care what title you have. I don't care what position you hold. I don't care how great you think you are. God is not grading on a curve. And anything that is not of God, you do not get credit for. Only what you do for God will last. And after death comes judgment. You can lie to me all day long, but you can't lie to God. You do not get a second chance to do you. When you die, you must be judged for the things that were done while in this body. So you're not going to heaven looking for the same body. Now y'all ain't gonna pray with me. I don't know why preachers don't preach this. I guess not. I mean, it's only common sense. I hear people at funerals all the time when they talk about their loved ones. They say, I just know they're in heaven looking down on me right now. Well, if they are, who is this in the box? You done cremated them, so how they looking down on you with what body? So evidently they didn't need this shell to get into the presence of God. So that if you could see them right now, you wouldn't see them like this. I know I'm messing with some of y'all. Let me stay true to my word. I'm closing up. My life is a sermon. And I've gotten to the point in my life where I'm looking for God in every day, every moment, every aspect, every trial, every conversation. Everything is God. Like Mr. Han told the Karate Kid, everything is Kung Fu. I'm telling you, everything is God. And start looking for clues, signs that God gives you throughout the whole day. And if you learn how to apply what you're going through, you'll understand that God is working for you and not against you. A couple of weeks ago, my wife and I, we celebrated how many years? Women always taking up for each other. See, had she asked me that question, all the women would have been just like this. Waiting to see if I was going to answer it correctly. 28 years. 28 wonderful years. Is that better? Okay. And so our anniversary always falls around homecoming. And so we never really get a chance to celebrate homecoming without working it around, our anniversary without working it around homecoming. So homecoming was second Sunday and our anniversary was that Saturday. So we decided, okay, let's just take a little getaway, a little quick getaway. And then we would be back Saturday night so that we could be here with our church family on homecoming. And so we took a little trip to the beach. 5 hours away from our home. And so we packed up that Saturday, heading back to J.S. Hammond so that we could be here for homecoming. 2 hours into our trip on our way back home, I get into a little city, and the hot light of my truck, it flashed. It didn't stay on. It flashed, and it went off. But it caught my attention. And I said, that's strange. It never did that before. And it just so happens right in front of me was an AutoZone. And my wife says, well, there's an AutoZone. Let's pull over there. Maybe we just need a little coolant. Maybe it's just running a little low on coolant. But it was letting me know I'm about to run hot. And so my first cue was, there is no pre-warning to warnings. God doesn't call you up on Monday to let you know I'm going to give you an affliction on Tuesday. So therefore, you got to always be praying. You got to be always ready to activate your faith, because there's no pre-warning to the warnings of affliction. It's just going to flash. 1 minute you're doing all right. You woke up in a good mood. You looked in the mirror, you liked what you saw, but you messed around there and went to work, and somebody rubbed you the wrong way. And you find yourself in your cubicle saying, I just got to work. And I didn't get a warning sign. I pulled into the AutoZone, and as soon as I pulled into the AutoZone, I popped the lid and I let the hood up, and it began to smoke, and water ran all through the parking lot. I went inside the store. There was a young, clean-cut young man in his early 20s, stepped around the corner, said, sir, may I help you? I said, yes, ma'am. Me and my wife, we was coming back from a trip trying to get home, and my light came on. Where is your antifreeze? He said, well, you walk right by it, but if you don't mind, can I take a look at it? I said, yeah, have at it. He came and he looked at it and he shined his little light in there, and he said, oh, you got this going on, got that going on. And as it turned out, even though he worked at AutoZone, he was a certified ASE mechanic. Who loved to tinker with engines. And so he introduced himself, and his name was Matthew. And the name Matthew in Hebrew means gift of God. And so Matthew says, if you don't mind, I can get you back on the road. Now, mind you, this is Saturday evening. All the Ford dealerships is closed. And I'm stuck in a small town. I said, no, I don't mind. He says, I'm going to get my coworker to help me because I trust him. And he went and got his coworker and introduced him to me. And his name was Clay. Now, I looked up the name Clay while I'm sitting there in the AutoZone, because I'm asking God, why in the world do you have me here in this town and you know I'm on my way to handle business in the house of God? Clay is short and is derived from the name Clayton, which means he who works with his hands. So God was letting me know that even though you have broken down, I still got my hands on you. I kept on reading under the name clay. And it says clay is considered the richest of all soils because it is the only soil that can be transformed into something else. And so God says, if you just have patience, you and your wife, I'm about to do a transformation in your life while you all are sitting here in the AutoZone. Woo! I'm almost finished. My wife says, I hear her on the phone. She's telling people we broke down. We ain't gonna make it. And then she puts the phone down. She says, baby, by the way, where are we? We're in the middle of nowhere. I said, baby, stop telling folk we in the middle of nowhere. We're in a city called Dothan, Alabama. And you know your pastor. I'm sitting there in the AutoZone. All I have is my wife and my phone. I looked up the name Dothan. I'm familiar with Dothan because Dothan is in the Bible. But I wanted to know what was the meaning of the name Dothan. Well, it turns out that the name Dothan in the Hebrew means the place of two wells. Which means that if you're in Dothan, you get ready for a double portion. Dothan is the place where Joseph was sold into slavery. He had to go through the affliction on the way to his promotion. So God says, listen, I got you in a place for a double portion. My hand is on you, and I'm about to give you a gift from God. And if you will allow me, I'm about to transform your life. I'm almost finished. Now, Matthew had just gotten off work. And he began to work on my truck on his off time. And he says, I'm going to do all I can to get you and your wife back on the road. He says, but when I'm done, don't you offer me no money. I don't want you to pay me. I said, Matthew, are you a praying man? He laughed. He walked up to me. He said, what did you say? I said, are you a praying man? He said, yes, sir, I am. I said, I felt that about you when you walked around that counter. There was something about your countenance, something about your spirit that let me know that you were different than anybody else. Now, mind you, during this time, there were other people, other mechanics who were walking in and saw me and my wife, and they were coming up saying, hey, you need me to do this and need me to do that. And Matthew would get in between me and my wife and the person trying to offer me help. And he would say, no, I got this. They don't need your help. I got this. And he turned to me, he said, listen, there are a whole lot of shade tree mechanics who come in here, who tinker with engines, but really hadn't been trained to do it. He said, but you all are my assignment. And I can't allow anyone who ain't qualified and certified to touch your truck. And so that was God's way of letting me know that even when you're going through your affliction, I'm going to put a hedge of protection around you. I'm going to allow you to go through it, but it won't hurt you. It's not going to consume you. I'm not going to allow you to be mishandled even while you're in your furnace of affliction. I'm almost finished. Came to find out that the holes I needed, they didn't have in stock. I saw Matthew coming up to me and my wife. They treated us real well. They went and got us 2 little folding chairs and put them in the lobby of the AutoZone. They told us anything, all we have in here, we got some chips and some M&Ms and got the soda machine right here, the drink machine. Said, help yourself to anything you want. Help yourself, water, whatever you want. And I saw Matthew coming up to me, and he had this look on his face. He says, well, I don't know how to tell you this. He says, you got a hose that's busted. He said, but I don't have the hose in stock. And he says, I've called all of our sister locations, every auto part in the area. He says, I've called Napa, and no one has that part. It's late in the evening. The Ford dealerships are closed, and I won't be able to get this part until Monday. And it's Saturday. I need to be in Palmetto on Sunday. I said, oh man, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Matthew leaves. We start calling people, letting them know, hey, we're not gonna be there tomorrow. Call Elder Swanson and say, listen, man, I'm stuck down here in Dalton. In case I don't make it back, you preside tomorrow and just make sure everything runs smooth. I'm making preparations for not being here. Matthew comes back. He says, I want to try something. I think I can make this hose out of some parts that I already have. And so he took off the reservoir and brought in some pipes and began cutting and soldering. And he made a pipe out of some materials. And God says, listen, I'm the only one who can make a way out of no way. And sometimes I will allow you to go through afflictions to bring you out, just to make the devil mad, because he can't figure out how you got out of that affliction. He thought when you was on your sick bed that he had you. He don't understand how you got healed. Y'all ain't gonna pray with me. He thought he had you when they laid you off, but your bills still got paid somehow. He don't understand how you got out of that affliction. Matthew made that part. He put it on. He put some antifreeze in it. He started it up. That's Matthew. He started it up, but it kept leaking. But by this time, it had gotten dark. So Matthew says, listen, I can't see to finish the job. He says, but I'm going to start on your truck first thing in the morning. By this time, his parents have come to the store because Matthew hadn't come home. They knew he got off at 5, but here it is 8:30, 9 o'clock, and Matthew hadn't come home. And so they came up to see what was going on with their son. And his mother says, when she saw him working on my car. Now, he called his dad and asked his dad to bring some extra tools that he didn't have handy. And so normally the dad would just bring him some tools, but he would normally come without the wife. But she said, for some reason, something told her, you need to make this trip too. And when they got there, they stayed. And Matthew introduced us to his parents. They took us to Chick-fil-A to get something to eat. And they said, well, listen, it looked like you guys are going to be spending the night in Dalton. If you would like, you can come and stay with us. Now, this is our anniversary. And I said, well, it's our anniversary. We're just going to get a room and chill. But I appreciate it. So the dad named Troy says, well, let us take you to get a hotel. And it was some hotels within walking distance. And they said, no, those hotels aren't suitable for a man and woman of God. We don't want you staying in no rust bucket. Let us drive you to where we drive our relatives when they come to town. And so they drove us to a hotel. And Troy gets out and he says, I'm going to go in here with you and make sure you get a room. And so he walked in with me to give me a room. And so I'm getting the room. And they asked us, well, do you all want to go to church with us in the morning? Now, we hadn't planned on going to church nowhere but J.S. Hammond. So all we had was shorts and flip-flops and sweats. Now, I know it's all about what you got on the inside. But my wife said, well, we just don't have the proper attire to come to church. We would love to worship with you guys, but I'm not going to church with no shorts and flip-flops. And y'all, if anybody know my wife put on makeup to go check the mail. She ain't walking out the house without being laid from head to toe. So they said, well, listen, when we get out of church tomorrow, let us pick you up and take you out to dinner. So I'm in the hotel room, I'm almost finished. And my phone dies. And Sister Coleman is sitting on the bed and her phone is about to die, but she plugs it in on the nightstand. And she sits on the side of the bed, the side that I sleep on. And she normally plays this game to relaxes her mind. It helps her unwind. And so I didn't want to take that from her. It's been a long day, frustrating, but I'm sitting here thinking, hey, it's our anniversary. You're going to play this game all night? But I was tired, frustrated too. We done spent our whole anniversary at the AutoZone. And I didn't want to disturb her moment. I said to myself, well, I'll just go and get on the other side and lay down. Now, in 28 years of marriage, I have never slept on this side of the mattress. But I got into bed and I laid down and I tossed and turned all night long. I could not get comfortable because I felt like I was out of my comfort zone. And God says, listen, the blessing will come when the shift takes place. And in order for me to shift you, you're going to have to get out of your comfort zone. You're going to have to do something different in order for me to get you where I need you to be. So we get up the next morning and we go out to dinner with the Hammonds. They treat us to dinner. Afterward, they took us back to their house. We kicked our shoes off. We sat down at the table and we had a good time. And I imagine to myself, people were looking at us in the restaurant, probably thought, here's a group of people or a group of friends who've been knowing each other for a long time. No one would have imagined that our friendship was not even 48 hours old. God gave us a diamond in the rough. And we felt such a connection to them that it was hard for us to leave. When the truck was all done, we had ate. We stood there in the AutoZone contemplating, should we stay another night? But I said, well, no, baby, let us go ahead and go. They didn't want us to leave because by this time it was dark. And I don't know if any of you all have been on the Highway 431 coming out of Dothan, Alabama into Phoenix City, Alabama. It ain't nothing but darkness, darkness, darkness. Ain't a house, hotel, business, gas station, nowhere. And so they were concerned that Matthew had fixed the car, but if anything go wrong, no one will get you. Ain't nobody coming on 431. But Matthew gave me a gallon of antifreeze. He says, all you have to do is every hour or so, just check the levels. But I am 100% confident that this vehicle will get you from point A to point B. And my wife and I got in that car and we rode home on faith, knowing that the gift from God had laid his hands on us, understanding that we are about to receive a double portion, not only in our lives, but in the people's lives in whom we pastor, everyone we are connected to. Our lives are going to be transformed, and Hammond is going to take us getting out of our comfort zone because a shift is about to happen here at 211 Beckman Street. And if we just keep on riding, keep on believing, keep on trusting, and every now and then just check the levels to see where you at, God will take care of you even when life runs hot. The doors of the church is open.